before we get to the book reviews this week, me and Matt are going to keep this as friendly as possible, but you might find that the first book we talk about is going to have a very differing set of opinions. And I'm almost upset that Connor's not here. Almost.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Almost. Because he would break the tie. He would
It's
offer a
not even
different
so much a
opinion.
tie, but it could be a different opinion, and
Yeah.
instead of it being so adversarial, it could be like him mediating almost. You
Yeah.
know?
Because the
So
first book we are going to talk about, of course, is Batman issue 10, written by Tom King and art by Mikel Janin. And of course, we have very, very different opinions on this. You can probably guess who's on what side, just given Matt's reputation up until this point. Um, but yeah, so let's talk. So the plot of this one is that Batman's got his team assembled, and this is him traveling to Santa Prisca to get Psycho Pirate from Bane.
which I didn't realize it was like Alcatraz. Like I had always thought Santa Prisca. Like I understood there was a prison there, and like that was its function. But I had always just imagined like there being a prison on an island. Not that the island was a prison. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
You know.
I don't think I knew enough about it to have an
Yeah.
assumption one way or the other.
But that's the whole thing. My main introduction to Bane after Batman and Robin, which let's not count that, was from
Bane. That was
yeah,
just
it was
one line of dialogue.
was in one of the animated shows where Bane was basically a luchador, and he was from the Caribbean, and so there was some tropical stuff that went on there. But so I'd always just had this view of it, but it was cool. I do like the design that King and Jen kind of gave it. Like it does look like this fortress in the middle of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, I think that's something we should just before we even, because even though we disagree and saw stuff in this book, I think we both agree that it looks gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
Jan and I love the play with the light in the dark, because it's in like this bright sunlight, because obviously we're down South America, and then but when it goes inside it's all shadows and it's all it does a
Yep.
lot with that. It plays with that contrast, which I really really like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. We raved about how beautiful it was last issue as well. Jaren's just like Finch was doing surprisingly well for our expectations of Finch, but Jaren is just
Yeah, it's different levels. Like in baseball, you have the team that they're good, but they're just getting by it, and then you have the team that's like really really good and just winning, and that's Janin and Finch to me. They're both good, but different levels.
yeah. So yeah, so Batman, we have this structure where we have Catwoman narrating.
Which was weird because they don't outright say that at the beginning.
They don't
Like, it
actually,
doesn't.
yeah, because I wasn't sure it was her
Yeah.
at first. Like,
Yeah.
because at first I was almost thinking it might be Bane. I mean, it didn't take me too long to realize it wasn't, but because
Yeah.
I thought almost because it was focusing on Batman like coming in, and Batman kept repeating this little speech that he had. I'm here for Psycho Pirate to do this, and makes his
Magneto
threat.
Montoya,
Yeah,
you killed my father. Prepare to die.
yeah, it was basically that essentially,
Oh.
but Batman like. And I thought maybe it was Bane to counteract this, but of course, as the narration kept going,
Yeah.
she talked about going to an orphanage and talks about Cat's Eyes, and it became clear that this was Catwoman talking about her past, and
It wasn't until the dialogue said meow that I went,
okay, right, yeah,
Well, it's like clearly not, but it was. They threw. I almost feel like King threw that in there, so people that weren't paying as close attention, it clicked. It was the obvious.
I really liked this side of the issue, because it for me, the whole thing that she's talking about and how she would run away from her foster home and go back to the orphanage, which was the Wayne founded orphanage, and she would look up at the photo, and she was talking about her determination that after this orphanage got bombed, she hunted down all 200 plus members of these people involved and killed them all. She was determined. She had this drive, and it was the whole point of it to me. Talking about contrast again, it was contrasting between her and Batman, and how he had this happy life at one point, and even after the happy life ended, he still had Alfred. Whereas Catwoman had no one and felt alone, so she went down this darker path where she wasn't fighting for the happiness again. She was just fighting to take everyone out that had taken it away from her.
Right.
So I like that her drive of doing that counteracted nicely with Batman's drive in the issue, the story that we were actually watching play out, which was mostly visual. There wasn't a whole lot of dialogue, other than Batman's repetitious,
Yeah.
his repetitious spiel that he kept saying. So I liked that. I liked how those counterbalanced. And again, looks great. Batman, plane gets shot down, comes out, he gets dragged into Bane. Bane exchanges words and eventually puts him in his his cell that fills with water.
Well, not just that he did. He cracks Batman's back, which
Yeah.
I thought this is where it went off the rails for me, because at this point, Batman's flown his new Batplane, which looks a lot like a tumbler but with wings, which that was pretty cool to see. It crashes in Santa Prisca after getting shot down. Then Batman fights an army before he gets taken. And I'm not talking like a couple guys, like a guard. I'm talking like there's easily 100 guys that swarm him. Throw him to Bane. Bane then what could best be described is in professional wrestling, there's a move called the Camel Clutch and the Accolade. He puts Batman in that, and there is a large crack sound effect font. Is that what that's called? Because it's not a bubble. But what do you call those?
Yeah, sound effect, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a specific term for it in comics, but
so at this point, I know what Batman's. He has a plan. I get that, and he put together a team. So I'm like, okay, with the constant repetition.
yeah, because so far at this point, he's been on his own. Like this entire issue, we see him, he's on his own. So clearly, these other team members need to come into it somewhere.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking that maybe this isn't Batman. Like we saw the guy impersonate Gordon. Like maybe this is just a feint to distract Bane, right? And then he gets his back broken, and I'm going, wait a minute.
Well, hold on a second. I think you may be jumping to conclusions a little bit with, like.
Then what was it?
Well, he hurts his back. I don't think that necessarily means back broken. I feel like if he actually broke his back, there'd be more of a statement about it. It wouldn't just be something that's.
I know what Bane said too, that he's not off on the Venom and he can't put him over his knee, but I can do this and it's the next best thing. And even if they didn't want us to think that there was some kind of breakage or fracture or whatever, right? What's with the sound effect?
It's just selling the pain that he's in. I think it's selling how much he's hurting him, but I don't think it necessarily means that devastating injury that he can't come back from. I don't know. I feel like
that's why I feel like we're getting two different things from it though, because I'm reading this going, well, Batman just got bent like a pretzel and then thrown into the cell. And what I did like is we got established by the cell last issue.
Yeah,
and how it rises with the tide, and it's over the course of a day. So it's not like this is happening in quick succession. He gets thrown in there, and it rises with the tide, and there's rats and whatever, and I'll let you go with the rest.
Yeah, so the tide rises, and he sort of like. I almost read it more that Bane dislocates his back. If you could even do that, because the way he sort of he sort of does this thing where he puts his back into place, and to me that felt like, you don't fix a broken back that way. You barely fix a broken back anyway.
And that's my thing. And if it was dislocated, here's the thing. And I know it's comics, and we get Superman and the Speed Force, but Batman's human, right? He doesn't have a healing factor. So. Even if his back's dislocated, there's nerves and whatnot there, right? He doesn't.
Sure. I think the problem here, Matt, is that he is human, but he's human in a comic book. Do you know what I mean?
And I get that, but at the same time, if
it's almost
he can do all these things,
it's the same,
then he's not human.
But it's the same complaint you could bring up for any action movie, though. Look at Schwarzenegger in Commando or whatever.
But that's set up early on in Commando. You know what you're getting into very much. And in the last arc that King wrote, right, in what was that called? I Am Gotham?
Yeah.
we get that scene where him and Duke bring down the plane, and he's calculating. And from that, I go, man, if there's going to be more of this, I'm going to have a very hard time reading the book. And then I felt that we got more of that here, to where he fights an army, he gets his back dislocated, goes through that cell that Bane went through that's supposed to be hell, relocates his back, and then gets out of the cell like nothing happened.
I feel like you do like to obsess on these details, and it's funny because see almost everything you just said, I kind of glossed over. Like it wasn't important to me.
And see, the only reason I know this is I reread it, just because this drove me into such a rage. I wanted to throw the book across.
Which is weird to me because for me, like,
Yeah.
I love this issue because Catwoman's narration, the beautiful art, it set this mood, this tone, this foreboding of like Batman being determined. It's like I'm always a fan of characters who are a force of nature, and Batman can be like that.
See, and I like him. I like Batman more when he's limited. That's why I'm a fan of the Morrison run, and even parts of the Snyder run. Like the early parts of the Snyder run are Batman realizing that, oh, I don't have this all figured out the way I think I do. And I like that version. And here, I think that I get that he's a diversion, right? Because by the time he lets the half of the team in, because at the end he gets out of the cell, goes to the store,
It's
and
it's Catwoman
Catwoman and Wesker, yeah, and he goes, "Are Tiger and Punch and Julie set?" And Catwoman says, "Yeah." So I get that this was supposed to be a diversion for Bane to just focus on Batman, but I also feel like the whole speech that I'm going to break Bane's back, I want Psycho Pirate, it didn't ring like that was Batman. So I feel like there was a disconnect to this. So as I'm reading it, and then we get it like, oh no, it is Batman, and he's fought an army and got his back dislocated. I'm just like, so he has no limits. Like this is his determination is a superpower that he can just do whatever he wants, and that's what I have a problem with. That to me is lazy writing. So, and I expected more from King because even with the plane being brought down, like he had Duke there, like analyzing, how to turn on off and on the engines to bring it down. And here it was just like, no, I'm gonna relocate my back and let everyone in. So hopefully the next issue is better, because I am looking forward to this breakout of the prison, because now they're in it. Like we've established as an army, and we know that Bane's off the Venom.
And who knows what the rest of the plan is? Because we know that he's planning something. He's got all these people in place. We don't know what they're doing yet. We just know that they're there. They're in place.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Ocean's 11, but and again, I feel reading it a second time, I feel there's going to be explanations coming, because like the first time you watch Ocean's 11 and there's the heist and there's a lot of things that don't make sense, and then there's that whole reveal scene on how they did it. So I'm wondering if something like that's going to happen.
But the thing for me though is I don't even really feel like I need that. Like for me,
Well, I do.
I see what's happening and I take it, and I take that he is a force of nature here and that he is this determined, and I buy his determination because of what is happening to Gotham Girl. Like I get that he's doing it for her. That's why he's so ramped up here. So just to sort of sum up and give a counterpoint to everything you just, because you went on a little speech there. Is just to say that I kind of disagree with pretty much all of it. I don't have any big counterpoints to make, other than a lot of the things you spoke about there just aren't important to me, or I don't care.
Well, and I feel this is how we see Batman differently.
Yeah.
So, and these are my problems with the character, is I hate when this type of stuff happens, and it's the because Batman syndrome.
But here's the thing, though, that I think is important, is that I think because Batman, that whole thing, because Batman, which, we spoke about when we were first speaking about this online, we were talking about how it is just the same as because Speed Force, or, other examples. And I think because Batman, like because Speed Force, they all have a line for me. There is a line that once they cross it, it's too ridiculous. But this isn't hitting my line. This is not even...
No, this is...
It never.
This hasn't fully crossed it like that Future's End issue from a couple years ago. But this is tiptoed. Like there was a line and it stuck its toe over there, and I was just like,
For me, like I don't even have a defined line. I feel like you have like defined things that once Batman does, you're just kind of annoyed by it. Whereas with me, it's just all about how does it ring. Like when I'm reading the story, does it take me out of it? and nothing in this took me out of it. I was fully engrossed the entire time. This is probably my favourite issue of Batman in Rebirth.
Oh man.
Of this series specifically, not of including Detective.
Yeah.
Just
No,
to
I know what
be
you
clear.
meant. By the main title, not of all of Batman.
Yeah.
Because that would be crazy. Because Detective has been
Yeah. But no, I like this more
hard
than
to
the first.
classify.
I like this more than the last issue, which I also loved, and I like it more than the first arc, which I liked a lot. For me, it's just this felt like so focused. It felt like the art and the writing were so in tune, and it was, everything about it just like I was there, I was in it, and I'm excited about the next issue. I'm excited about what this mission is. I'm excited about what's Batman driven to, like that Bane's not on Venom now, and he is more of like a, like a more mano a mano. He can take him now. He's,
Yeah. Which I like, and Bane's still a threat, which he's, as he should be.
Yeah.
And I like that. But yeah, I need to get to the next issue, and if the next issue is more of the same kind of stuff, I'm gonna be upset. Because I expect more out of Tom King, because I really like Tom King, because like he didn't do this type of stuff with Seeley and Grayson, and that's really my only tie to Tom King. Because I haven't read Vision.
It's so funny to argue this almost though, because I almost feel like I don't know how to argue it because I don't see the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm having a hard time like bringing up counterpoints because I'm like, but I don't get it. What's wrong? But there you go.
Yeah.
That's Batman. Hopefully Connor's around for the next one.
Yep.
Connor's not read it yet because he's busy this week, but I would guess he'll be more closer to my side, but we'll see.
Maybe. We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see.
If not, then I will burn him in effigy.
Okay.